Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of the Rush Hour podcast. Now, these threats of lawsuits made against me are not related to Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni. It's due to the other court case I've been covering. But the pattern in which a lawyer can sort of wave their law degree and legal jargon at people in part to try to silence them has been completely exposed. I don't expect to see this happen in Blake Lively versus Justin Baldoni, but it is worth talking about as I'm not going to call myself the victim, but I was the target of a lawyer and his client who threatened to sue me for over $120 million. They actually said they were going to sue me for as much, if not more, than what Alex Jones was sued for. Of course, a monster of a situation. The only thing I was guilty of is actually defending multiple victims and exposing a serial liar and fraudster, which I'm going to break down right now. Now, why am I discussing this today? Well, not only did we expose a serial fraudster, but the judge ended up agreeing with us. And this lawyer, who had also targeted me and others, he targeted a lady in Florida who's been covering this case, trying to subpoena Reddit for usernames so he can come after other people. I mean, batshit crazy stuff. Well, after doing all of this, he then targeted the judge and tried to basically question democracy and question the judicial system. So he files this complaint. I'm not going to say his name out loud, but because I don't want any hate brought his way. But just this weekend or sometime recently, he actually mentioned me by name saying, "Oh, Dave's not going to be covering this." Well, how are you? Good to see you. It's sort of not my priority right now, but I promised my audience I would cross all the T's and dot all the I's regarding this case. So again, I'll try to find a way to spin this back to our new audience following Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. But just so you know, there are situations like Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni where there is a lot at stake for for Blake and for Justin for their PR. So you doubt that you'll see them coming after any content creators. But the case that I was covering was just famous enough that people were talking about it, but not famous enough where you couldn't be a target. So from the onset of covering this case, which was essentially a lady faking her pregnancy in order to get Clayton Echard, the Bachelor, to a dating contract to date her. She actually said, "Hey, since I'm pregnant, we might as well hook up because, I'm already pregnant," and kind of did that whole thing. She wore a fake baby bump into a courthouse where you could see her adjusting it. And she threatened me with defamation lawsuits nonstop. She had lawyers reach out to me. I had to retain a lawyer. My audience raised money for my legal funds. And we ended up raising money for Clayton's legal funds and another victim to prove that she faked ovarian cancer, to prove that she faked DV, to prove that she faked the sort of pregnancy by changing her HCG levels to from a very low level to a very high level. And the only thing she's admitted to is faking her HCG levels. She did admit to that in court, but she changed the location. She claimed she went to Planned Parenthood. This happened live in the courthouse on June 10th of 2024. We were there in a van we rented. Shout out to Bruce, our moderator, for joining me in the battle. And of course, everyone in our community for joining us. What's so important about this case, which will become a documentary, and you will catch it up. You'll catch the whole case eventually when it makes it into a shiny 6-part documentary. But which I hope my community is the center of. I hope my community is the center of the documentary, the driving heartbeat of the documentary, because this is a community that raised the funds to stop this woman from her vexatious litigancy. Is that a term? She's nonstop trying to sue people into submission, and she's still continuing to threaten me with lawsuits. Now, we take those threats and we wipe our ass with them because I would love to defend myself in court if need be. I would not want to provoke anybody, but at this point, they seem to think that the fact that I'm no longer covering this case on the day-to-day that they've won. That's not true at all. So breaking news came out with the Twitter account at Clayton's Justice. I'm also going to recommend the Reddit account and the Instagram accounts. I'm going to link those below. You got to go follow them. Where they said the complaint filed by Baby Jingy, that's our nickname for this lawyer, against Judge Julie Mata is dismissed. So they looked at his evidence of judicial misconduct and they said there was none. Now, she's got a bar complaint she filed against him. And I've been told this by plenty of lawyers. They've never seen a judge file a bar complaint against a lawyer because in the courtroom, yes, Your Honor, no, Your Honor, it's very cordial. Well, what happened here was Baby Jingy accused the judge of like Googling and investigating on her own and all because his own client lied about when and where she got an ultrasound. She lied by saying she got it in Mission Viejo and then on the witness stand said she actually got it in Los Angeles.
She lied?
She lied by saying she went on a Sunday. And as they found out, Planned Parenthood in Los Angeles is not open on a Sunday. She lied about a multitude of other things. So what's interesting here is the news just came out that he lost. And I think we've got the information right here. So we have his thing where he says there's clear and irrefutable proof showing that the judge conducted an independent investigation into the facts of the case. Again, all of that because his client, Laura Owens, lied under oath. Laura Owens has now claimed she's been pregnant with multiple men's twins, and then later somehow something happened. In this case, she claims a miscarriage. Although she claimed at 24 weeks pregnant, she was still pregnant. She never produced fetal death certificates. All of the medical providers she gave discovery for said they never saw her or that they hadn't seen her, and she had made appointments with them but never actually went and said she was scared to go and all these other things. So she plays the victim. And in other instances, she, guys, I mean, this story's so crazy. It's like drinking water out of a fire hose here. It's like drinking water out of, a waterfall, really, because she faked a black man. She faked a black journalist to try to convince me to report on a story to have Clayton Echard canceled for dancing to a song that sang the N-word. He didn't. The song did. She faked an Asian doctor to convince another victim, Mike Maricini, that she had ovarian cancer, to which she later spun that around to say he was abusing her. She faked a Jewish talent agent to try to convince Mike Maricini to be hired to do a podcast with her. She faked an ultrasound with a Fiverr logo that we discovered on there. So these claims of fraud have been clearly identified. But what's interesting here is they shot down his complaint. So in the matter of petitioner and respondent, the respondent, I guess, is the presiding judge. As explained below, there's clear and convincing evidence demonstrating the judge currently assigned to this matter. So he claimed she's biased, prejudiced, and has engaged in conduct that violates some rule. It's redacted right to due process under law. So he claimed all of these things here. And then their response was, nope. So the commission's policy is to post only the first 5 pages. So I don't even have anything else here, but it was shut down. And I think we have that by the breaking news button. The commission reviewed all relevant available information and concluded there was not clear and convincing evidence of ethical misconduct in this matter. The complaint is therefore dismissed. So where's my, here, I got my gavel right here. So ladies and gentlemen, complaint is dismissed. Now, that doesn't mean that Laura Owens isn't going to try to sue me for other reasons. She already tried to sue me for harassment. She later withdrew that lawsuit the night before it was supposed to go into order. She called the FBI on me for revenge porn. Why? I've never seen her naked body in my life, and I've never shared images of her naked body. She called the attorneys general on me and probably other complaints, but we actually have audio of the FBI receiving that phone call, and she also threatened self-harm multiple times to me and to all these other victims. That was like her initial way of controlling men is with Mike Maricini. Mike Maricini back this is 7 years ago. And by the way, she has a restraining order against all 3 of these victims. Mike Maricini was dealing with his own stepdad dying. He was, either in hospice or he had, a disease that he was terminally ill. And rather than spend time with his own stepfather and his family, he was trying to save Laura Owens from self-harm, from killing herself, because she was on the fritz. And as it turns out, she's made that claim to pretty much every one of her victims. Some call it like emotional terrorism, really. So anyhow, I've got these screen grabs of what this lawyer was, throwing out publicly about me. He said, these vile scum, I mean people, are not helping. They are human cockroaches spreading feces on the floor and then spinning the facts to make them more dramatic than they really are in the hopes this will drive traffic and increase revenue for their sad, pathetic lives. One day, these trash humans will wake up and realize that lying for money is not a good way to live, or maybe they will never see their sins. Either way, I look forward to reading their obituaries briefly before throwing them in the trash where they belong. Of course, we filed a bar complaint against him. The bar essentially didn't do anything with the complaint because we are not his clients. And I guess he's allowed to act so maliciously towards reporters and journalists covering the case. He also threatened us with massive lawsuits. Having done many defamation cases, these are his words, I can tell you, if Laura sues the Justice for Clayton crew for defamation, it would be an absolute bloodbath. To use a metaphorical term like Trump did, not literally. Unless folks like Dave Neal have a really good explanation for every defamatory thing they have said about Laura, my prediction is that by this time next year, Laura's horses will be enjoying some new grazing land out in Tennessee once the Neal family has been evicted from their home after losing a multi-million-dollar defamation case in federal court. I really hope that doesn't happen, but at this point, I don't see how it's not going to happen. I think I should buy a horse and make my own horse farm, because all this talk about horses really makes me want to get into the game. So he continues, generally blogging or hosting YouTube videos every day to talk about the case, but they are not really talking about the case, not even close. They don't explain all the facts, and they don't give both sides of the story like any real journalist would. At the end of the day, they don't give a shit about this case, and they don't give a shit about the people involved or the truth. They're nothing but mosquitoes sucking their meager livings out of the First Amendment I fought so hard to protect. These human leeches are selling half-truths and twisting shit way out of perspective in order to increase the drama. So much drama, and thereby get a few more pennies of Google AdSense revenue and a few super chat bucks to pay for breadsticks. It honestly makes me puke. Now, maybe since posting this, Gingras understands how lucrative my businesses are. I think he's a little bit jealous, and I say that because he has since created his own YouTube channel. What's very interesting about this YouTube channel is the case was dismissed a month ago, even though it was just revealed this weekend. The case was dismissed against the judge on January 17th. So since the case was dismissed, even though it wasn't public, he was still pretending as though he had a case. Have a listen to this.
She will. She won't. She's already in enough trouble for doing things wrong anyway. That's a statement of my opinion.
So he says she's in enough trouble, even though the case had already been dismissed.
Know that she's in trouble, although, man, I actually, you know what, since we're back on it, I'll just say this, because I just can't stop talking, can I? On my walk today, on my daily walk, rewatched that little video compilation of people talking after the hearing, after the trial about.
And what he's referencing is we were live outside the courthouse. It was so hot. We were under a tent. It was like 120 degrees. It was literally so hot we couldn't remove the antenna from the top of our van because we needed oven mitts to climb the ladder on the van. It was so hot. It was June in Arizona. Either way, there was somebody saying, I was talking to Judge Mata's dad in the spillover room because we had 100 people attend this court hearing, whatever the heck it's called, evidentiary hearing. And he was trying to use that as an example where the judge's father was somehow in control of the judge's opinions, when in fact any resident or any person's allowed to go to the courthouse. So that's what he's referencing right here. And I was interviewing people and I was like, all right, like don't talk about that, knowing that he would use this against us. As it turns out, it was 100% dismissed.
Judge Mata's dad being there. And I didn't listen to it that carefully. I mean, I listened to it carefully, but the first time I heard it, I wasn't wearing headphones. I didn't have the volume all the way up. And I just went back, and the part, Dave Neal, you were standing there, and Dave Neal's moved on. He's not making Laura videos anymore, so he won't.
What's up, bitch? Here we are. Now, I'm not making videos because there's nothing to make. So he accused us of making videos where there's nothing to make. I only make videos when there's an update, and there is one today. So again, he's got an obsession with me. And I mean, look, I don't blame him. I got a good hairline. We're doing our thing. We're having fun. But an obsession. And he tried to turn the internet against us. And the only thing that's happened since this is we've gotten 50,000 new eyeballs on the case. So we've got this, folks, for all of the new people coming from the Blake Lively world. We got this. But just so you know, I want you guys to know, you hitched yourself to a winning team, because ever since this very bizarre lawyer got a hold of this case, all of the evidence against his own client came pouring in. My guess is his own client is going to turn her back on him very soon. I didn't even mention this. He was like the 7th lawyer to come. Every other lawyer saw the evidence, was like, I got to go. Literally, they were like, we can't represent her. So he decided to represent her, I guess, because he's a First Amendment lawyer, even though, and I do believe in the First Amendment, he still tried to taunt me and threaten me with private emails about be careful what you do, telling me it's not a threat. Whenever you have to tell someone it's not a threat, that's threat 101.
I don't even see this, but somebody came up to Dave Neal in the parking lot and said that they were sitting there with Judge Mata's dad talking to him. And you can't hear the audio of the woman speaking very well, but if you turn it up and wear headphones, I listened to it today and I heard something I'd never heard before. And it actually blew my mind. She said, and again, you have to interpret because you can't hear that clearly. I heard her say that she was sitting next to Judge Mata's dad in the overflow room and that he was talking to her about the case and that she said he had to watch his words carefully to not give anything away. And the way that she worded that, it made the hair on the back of my neck stand up because it was the closest I think.
Okie dokie. That's what a crying bitch looks like. I mean, look, I'm not here to ruffle any feathers, but like at this point, he probably knew he had already lost. So he's in the appeals court for the actual case, but that, wasn't involving the ethical side of things. So, I mean, look, I believe in the judicial system. I really do. These family court lawyers, I think, are used to people coming after them because it's so personal when it's like, I mean, and by the way, it shouldn't even be a family court conversation, but this was in family court because she was pretending to have this baby. And the fact that her lawyer, I guess, was so adamant to stick to this side. In fact, I can relate it to the Blake Lively case in a way where, like, Blake Lively, if she is wrong, it seems as though it might be her own ego and pride that is not able to admit she was wrong. And with Baby Jingy, the lawyer here, it's not that I don't think it's necessarily an ego thing that he's not willing to admit he's wrong, but he's holding on to a shred of light that she tested positive for an HCG test, which, you could drink HCG. You could literally shoot yourself up with horse fertilizer. You could do a million, diet pills can test positive for HCG. She could have driven to Mexico and gotten an HCG pill. She could have done anything she wanted. But all the evidence that shows she was never pregnant. She took a DNA test. Do I have that thing? She took a DNA test, and I got my DNA test somewhere. She took a DNA test, and during that DNA test, they weren't able to... They weren't able to find any fetal DNA. They said there's little to no fetal DNA. So they weren't even able to find the babies here. So we've been on the right side of this story. But it's just interesting just to show and introduce my new audience to this ridiculousness. And so much so that our good pal, Bruce, the moderator, Bruce the Moose, Brucey boy, Van Lifer, joined me in the van to really, share this case. And again, this guy threatened to make us homeless. And by the way, I wanted to take that moment to just shout out my wife because I've been able to make my content here in the studio and try my very best to insulate my wife from this issue because I might not have explained this, but as he was threatening to make us homeless, it was only several months after we bought our dream home. Our first homeowning, and my wife was 8.5 months pregnant. So there we have a woman who, already is dealing with the most beautiful but also scary time of her life. An 8.5 months pregnant. She's at full term. She could give birth any day. And then we have this fucking asshole bringing my family into this situation, which inspired me with so much rage that I scoured all of the evidence we already looked at. We flipped over every stone that hadn't been turned over yet, and we discovered more evidence. The Fiverr logo. We then found out and pieced together the Chase J. Jones, where she faked being a black guy. We have irrefutable evidence that it traces back to her cell phone. We have inside sources that know that she committed fucking fraud, that she changed the HCG level to the point where that information that we pulled up because of this asshole provoking us and threatening us, because of that information, you guys out there, you the audience, came together and you supported my family in a way that I'll never never not be extremely grateful for. Here's a video I shot this morning between making videos of my son dancing to the morning music. So we go from a moment in which she was pregnant and we were being threatened to have our complete lives overturned. She was going to graze her horses on our property. And then we fast forward a year later and we have my son growing up and his baby mama doing a dance. And how good is life, folks? How good is life? So take a little inspiration from this clip here and go out there and dance. And don't let these motherfuckers slow you down, because life is good and the truth rises to the top, baby. It certainly does. So all day long, I'm going to be watching this clip. This is my new theme, just watching my son dingle his legs. In fact, he doesn't know how to dance, but he knows how to kick his legs. This is the world I decided to live in. And we're not here to wreck anybody, but we sure as hell were ready to defend these victims. Now, luckily, in the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni case, there is a much bigger audience, probably 100 times the size following it. So I haven't had to be the investigative journalist. I kind of just been reporting back and forth. But we had to do a hell of a lot of work here. So Bruce from Oregon put together this cheat sheet for the documentary, which just shows how important our audience was. So it shows all of the media that I covered. Basically, I began covering the Laura Owens court case. She filed a paternity case against Clayton Echard, claiming he was the father, so we have all of that information. I produced and published over 230 YouTube videos and live streams covering the case and other related cases. For months after the story broke, Dave was the only media, mainstream or otherwise, covering the court case on a regular basis in detail. Dave's relentless coverage, investigations, and interviews brought the case to the attention of many different diverse independent YouTube channels, including Megan Fox, Legal Vices, Law Talk with Mike, Tilted Lawyer, MemG Law, Liz Neptune, That Umbrella Guy, Lauren, and more. And also, of course, Reality Steve was already covering this with me. Dave investigated a video that Owens provided showing Ron Owens touching a pregnant belly while the woman's face was mostly off screen. Working with journalistic sources and other tech experts, Dave determined that the pregnant woman in the video was actually Laura Owens' sister. In collaboration with internet investigators, Dave determined that an ultrasound sent to Reality Steve by Owens was a copy of a 6-year-old publicly available video. This investigation included lining up the two videos to show exactly how the original was edited into the specific video of the video that was sent to Reality Steve by Owens. Dave later started a community fundraiser to help the son of the woman who had her ultrasound stolen by Owens. Yeah, we got him a nice birthday party. I think they went on a vacation to Disney World. Dave reached out and informed Clayton that Clayton Echard's injunction against harassment hearing that Clayton Echard filed against Laura had been live streamed to the public. In this hearing, Clayton represented himself pro se. Dave started a GoFundMe, and over $10,000 was raised by the audience community in order for Clayton Echard to retain a lawyer. Dave coordinated to have an on-the-ground reporter at the Owens status hearing in Scottsdale. Dave live-streamed the hearing, provided commentary, and interviewed the on-the-ground reporter who attended the hearing. Thousands watched live, bringing the case to an even wider audience. March of 2024. David Baby Jingy, Owens' new lawyer at the time, started a PR campaign targeting Dave Neal. During this PR campaign, Baby Jingy released Owens' original 100 mg level HCG test result document. Dave later investigated and determined that Owens had previously sent him a fraudulent version of this test result in October 23. The fraudulent test result reported 140,000 blood HCG instead of 100 in an attempt to convince Dave of Owens' pregnancy claims. April to May, Dave filed a bar complaint against Baby Jingy. To date, 6 bar complaints have been filed against Baby Jingy by Dave Neal and other parties, including one filed by family court judge Julie Mata, the judge in the Owens-Echard paternity case. And that is still pending, so we'll have to see. They might remove his license. May of 2024, Dave collaborated with internet investigators and used Google's two-factor authentication process to prove that the Chase J. Jones Google account was created using Owens' personal cell phone number. This demonstrated that Owens fabricated the Chase J. Jones identity in order to wage a PR campaign against Clayton Echard while their paternity case was ongoing. Chase J. Jones was the pen name for the author of a Medium.com post that attempted to cancel Clayton Echard for dancing in a video that contained music with racially charged lyrics. Chase J. Jones listed their biographical information as a journalism student at Howard. Chase J. Jones refused to speak or FaceTime with Dave's lawyers. Yeah, we can never get them on the phone. June of 2024, Dave live streamed and reported on location at the Maricopa County Courthouse for the final Owens versus Eckert status hearing. Thousands of people watched live, and the live stream itself currently has over 60,000 views. Dave interviewed Eckert and Maricini after the hearing. The hearing was a calm and orderly example of public access to court hearings, thanks to Dave's planning, coordination, and communication with pool videographers, other reporters, and the court security staff prior to and during the hearing. March to July. Dave was interviewed by Caitlin Bristow, former Bachelor and co-host of ABC's The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, entrepreneur and podcast host. Dave reviewed details of the full case, other related cases in his investigative journalism work, in an unprecedented 3-part interview with Bristow on her podcast Off the Vine. Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever done a 3-part interview like that. Owens versus Neal. In October of 2023, Laura Owens sent Dave a cease and desist notification. Owens demanded that Dave delete his videos and stop producing new videos related to the case. Dave continued to pursue honest, transparent, and fearless journalism in order to cover the story at a time when few others or no one else would. October of 2023, the community audience started a GoFundMe for Dave's legal funds. Proceeds were used by Dave to hire a lawyer in California in anticipation of litigation after the cease and desist was sent by Owens. Owens files a temporary restraining order. Actually, I think the fundraiser came, well, I don't know. She was already coming after me. Owens filed for, we waited a long time. We didn't want to have to raise money for it. Owens filed for a temporary restraining order as well as a separate injunction against harassment against Dave in California. The temporary restraining order was denied by the assigned judge because the parties had never met in person and because of First Amendment concerns. The harassment case against Dave was later dropped by Owens. Related casework, Dave and Megan Fox uncovered a Fiverr logo embedded in a fraudulent ultrasound image sent from Owens to Gillespie. This investigation and discovery happened live during a YouTube live stream. Dave started a GoFundMe for Maricini in response to Gingras' PR campaign. Money raised by the community audience was used to hire a digital forensic investigator. Extracted messages between Owens and Maricini revealed Owens has faked ovarian cancer and faked a DV incident, noted in her TEDx talk. There it is, folks. So we're not fucking around. You know, when the time comes and your number is called, what type of person do you want to be? Luckily, with an audience watching, I knew I had to fight this, and I knew I couldn't back down. And that audience pulled, I guess, something out of me that I didn't know existed. And that audience was there, and people like Bruce, you know, privately, and a bunch of others, I can't thank everyone. People like Bruce told me, hey, you're not going homeless, we got your back. And knowing that I had such an audience by my side was so humbling. And the gratitude just cannot be contained. And to think that our audience has, you know, grown, not double, but by what, 50,000 since then, it's just unbelievable stuff. So that's the case. Links in the comment section if you want to follow the Twitter, or you can just wait till the documentary drops. Obviously, it isn't even in production yet. It's still working itself out, but it's fascinating. And now you're caught up to date, kind of. So, you know, that lawyer can keep barking all he wants, but we're going to be here to cross the T's, dot the I's, and call out bullshit when it comes to our doorsteps. More content coming your way right after this.